I've been through a lot of consoles in my lifetime, starting with the NES, the Super Nintendo, all the way to the current generation that we have right now, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and the PC that has been there for quite some time. But there is one console that has always remained in my heart and that I constantly think about for some reason, and that is the Sega Dreamcast. So, wanted to give you a little bit of a background of my relationship with the Sega Dreamcast. So, I was probably back in the year 2000. My cousin bought the Sega Dreamcast, and at this time, I had a PlayStation 1, and we were very, very close growing up. So, when I went over to my cousin's house, he said, "Hey, you know what? I got this new console. It's called the Sega Dreamcast." Now, mind you, in Toronto, Canada, not a lot of people were talking about the Sega Dreamcast. Mostly, a lot of people were talking about the PlayStation 1 and, of course, the upcoming console, which is the PlayStation 2. So, when I first interacted with the Sega Dreamcast, I remember we were playing the demo disc that came with the console. And I remember the demo disc came with, it was a one CD, came with like a couple of games. I remember it was Power Stone, Ready to Rumble Boxing, Sonic Adventure, House of the Dead, and Crazy Taxi. And we played the hell out of that demo disc. Now, mind you, every weekend I would go visit my cousin's house and whatnot, and I'll be like, okay, you know what? We'll play the Sega Dreamcast. When I went home, I went back to my PlayStation 1. So now is the year 2001. A lot of people are now talking about the PS2, and they're now saying, "Hey, I want to get a PS2." Everybody's talking about the PS2. No one's talking about the Dreamcast. So I wanted a PlayStation 2 actually. And of course, as a kid, I did not know that the PlayStation 2 killed off the Dreamcast. Because obviously everybody was just so busy talking about the PS2. So, anyways, I come from a low middle class family, so my parents were not that well off. I mean, of course, they were able to put food on the table and whatnot, but they did not make enough money to buy a console like that was $500 at the time. Um, so I was really upset. I kept begging my parents, "Hey, I want to get a PS2. Like all my friends are getting a PS2. I want to get one." Unfortunately, they were not unable to afford it. So, anyways, I stuck with my PlayStation 1, and at the same time, I'm just like, you know what? I'm getting bored of it because the thing is that there's no new games coming out. Now everybody's looking at the next generation, and everybody's just talking about that, and I have nothing to relate to it. So I said to myself, I'm like, wait a minute, is it possible that I can get a Sega Dreamcast? Kind of dawned on my mind for a bit, but then it went away. And then I remember in the summer of 2002, I remember I looked in a buy and sell newspaper. So at the back of the newspaper, it would show all these people that were selling their consoles, selling TVs or electronics or anything that they're selling. And I remember there was an ad that said that Sega Dreamcast for sale comes with one controller, Sonic Adventure, and Crazy Taxi, $50. And imagine that back in 2002 summer in the summer of 2002, the value of this Dreamcast skyrocketed so fast downwards because Sega discontinued it. Like no one's buying it, no one wants it. So I asked my dad. I said, "Hey, there's an ad here. I want to buy this console, right?" And my father was like, "You know what? We'll go check it out. We'll test it out. We'll see if it works, whatnot." And lo and behold, we call the person. It was a guy in his early 20s. He lived in his parents' basement. We even spoke to the father as well. We tested the console. I played Sonic Adventure and I was like, I'm hooked immediately. And I'm like, I want this console. So then, anyways, I got the Sega Dreamcast. I went home, played the crap out of it. Now I'm like, okay, you know what? Now I have something to brag about at school. Now, fast forward to my experience in school. I literally was telling my experience about the Sega Dreamcast and no one cared. Everybody was just talking about the PlayStation 2. That was the peak. That was the talk of the town. Everybody was going after the PS2. So I was just like, you know what? I think this is my personal thing with this console. And I think this is my alone journey with it. And I felt like that. I felt like the Sega Dreamcast was just meant for me because I was not able to speak about it to anybody else. And I felt like that was just meant for my own adventure. And no one would be able to share that. and I could go on my own. And I was actually happy with that too. Now that I think about it. So when I was playing the Dreamcast, obviously wanted to expand my library. So I remember very first game I remember I bought was Resident Evil Code Veronica, and I was a big Resident Evil fan at this time, and I still am. So I played Resident Evil 2 and 3 for the PS1. This I was like, I didn't even know it existed for the Dreamcast. I saw it, I'm like, I want to buy it. So I bought it. I remember I bought it for $15 at that time. We're talking about the year like 2003, I believe. And that was cheap, way cheap. Of course, to pay that now was a dream. So I bought that, and I remember I bought that game and I was hooked to that game. And that is my favorite Resident Evil to this day because of my experience with the Dreamcast and that being a unique game for that console. And then of course I bought other games too. Like I got games for my birthday. I remember I got Fighting Force 2. I know a lot of people are gonna say weird things about it. I went to pawn shops as well. I bought Mach and X. I bought this game called I Spy Espionage. Um, and I think it was another game. I bought the House of the Dead as well. I bought the gun for it. And that was fun too. And then I said to myself, you know what? Um, it's getting a little expensive on my family to buy my parents to buy all these games. Is there another way that I could do this? Maybe rent games and whatnot. And unfortunately, all the stores that are renting out video games, they stopped the Dreamcast. And I was like, why? Why are they stopping this? And obviously, I was a kid. I didn't understand what was going on in the market. So I said to myself, okay, there's got to be a way. And I remember there was a flea market here in Toronto, in Scarborough to be specific. Anybody that's watching from Toronto, they would know what I'm talking about. Um, at this time, a lot of people would buy copied games. So they would literally um, get their consoles modified, have a mod chip installed, and they'll be able to, play copied burnt games. And I found out that the Dreamcast did not need that. You can literally copy a game and play it without any mod chip. So I remember I went to the person, I confirmed it, and he said, yes, any game that you choose in from what I have, you'll be able to play it. And I remember every game was $10. Now, if it was like a game that had two discs, it would be like $5 extra for that disc just to cover their cost for the expense of those discs. So I remember I bought Dynamite Cop, I bought Resident Evil 3, I bought Resident Evil 2, I bought what is it? Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Um I bought Dead or Alive 2. Like I bought so many different games that literally I filled up my library. And then afterwards, I was like, you know what? This is an amazing experience. Like, I'm able to play all the games that I want. And some of the games were like also PS2 ports as well. So I was like, hey, I'm in the new generation, right? I'm technically in the new generation still, because these games are being ported to the PS2 and the GameCube and whatnot. Now, fast forward a little bit. So we're talking about the year 2005, 2006. Now we're getting like high speed internet in the household and whatnot. We moved to a new house as well from our apartment, and I had my own room to myself and whatnot. And we upgraded our computer as well. So financially speaking, we're doing a little bit better as a family. And I said to myself, now I could download these games myself and burn them myself as well, or copy them myself. So I remember I copied Shenmue. I copied so many different games, and I would literally like go through this one website. I forgot what it was called, but it would tell like a review of the game if you wanted to download it. And I just downloaded it, burned it on the CD or copied on the CD, and I played it on my Dreamcast right away. And it was awesome. It was a great experience. And then 2006 comes, and that's when the PS3 comes out. So everybody's talking about the PlayStation 3, and now PS2, the original Xbox, the Dreamcast, that's the past now, right? Now, I wanted to get a PS3, but luckily, the Dreamcast was able to occupy me, and I was not that, how would you say, obsessed about getting the PS3 because there was such a big library of games for the Dreamcast that I wanted to explore every single game, and I had that at my fingertips to download and copy those games and play them. So, anyways, in the years 2008, we're talking about July of 2008, and I bought the PlayStation 3 eventually. I bought the Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid 4 bundle, which was 80 gigabytes, and that was the last bundle that they Sony came out with backwards compatibility. So I remember I said to myself, I was like, you know what? If I get this console, I could pay PS1, PS2, PS3, and I have the Dreamcast as well. So I started playing that, and at this time, I was more into PC gaming as well. So the Dreamcast unfortunately took a little bit of a back burner, and it was literally collecting dust at times. Um, and I remember there was a time where a family came over to our house for a dinner, and they had like these two kids. They're like ages like 9 to 11, I believe. Anyways, so they were playing my Dreamcast and they're enjoying it. You know what? I was like, you know what? Instead of me letting this collect dust, I could give it to these kids. Maybe these kids don't have any consoles at their home. I mean, they did not come from a good family. Like, they were like, not well off, whatever the case is. So I said to myself, you know what? Let me just give it to them. Let me share the love that I experienced growing up using the Dreamcast, and they can obviously pass the torch to the. I could pass the torch to the next generation. So they were happily took all my games, and I gave it away. Of course, I'm kicking myself in the head now for that, but it is what it is. Now, I've been through countless games, various different experiences. Went through university, of course, and throughout that time, even until I graduated, even till now, I still think back about the Dreamcast. And I think the reason why I keep thinking about it is because not only because of the experiences that I had, but I think it's because also I feel like the console was underappreciated, and I think there was so much more that it could deliver. Um, they've had so much creative titles on that console, like that Sega Bass Fishing. You had the fishing rod as a peripheral, for example, or you had Seaman, or you had the game with the maracas, for example, or the gun with House of the Dead. It was like basically bringing the arcade home, and that's what I loved about the console was that you were getting a different experience, and there's so many experiences to try out on the Dreamcast, and they were so bold to be creative. Now, that could be a debate of if it literally shot them in the foot and they were able to obviously they had to exit the market, but it's kind of like saying goodbye to an old friend as well. Um, because the thing is that was the last console of Sega, and it was kind of sad. It's like more like, it was released at a point where it was a new generation, new, I guess you could say, year, the years of 2000s. Now the 1900s are gone. You know what I'm saying? It's like it seems like you're saying goodbye to an era. um, and I will always remember the Dreamcast until this day. I don't know what it is. I listen to podcasts about the Dreamcast. I don't listen to any podcasts about any other console. And you even look at the Dreamcast now today, you have indie game developers, you have small communities making games on the Dreamcast till this very day. And that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes that this console did not experience its full length of life as a regular console should. Um, and that's what eats at me about this console. But I'm forever grateful to obviously experience that. And I know like now, especially younger generation today, they don't, I'm 33 years old. They don't know what the Dreamcast was. But if you were to ever go back and actually look at what the Dreamcast was able to give and the type of titles that it gave, you'll be like, okay, I understand. I understand why a lot of people look at this console and they're like, hey, you know what? This was something else. This is the first console that had online gaming. First console that utilized Windows as a actual operating system, right? Um, literally, like there's so many different experiences you could have like on the Dreamcast once again. But this was a console once again. It's gonna be always forever in my heart till the day I die. I don't think about any other consoles as well. Even the PS2, I had great experiences, but it did not top the Dreamcast for some reason. And I think it was also because, like, it helped me go through some dark times too. I'm obviously gonna talk about those things in another other videos in the future. But this is one console that's always going to be with me. And I hope that anybody that's watching this video would ever have a chance to even look into the Dreamcast, even if you want to download an emulator. I'm not trying to like promote that, piracy, whatever. But, you know, If you ever have a chance, go for it. Like see what it is, see what people played back in the day, and I'm sure that you won't be disappointed. Anyways, once again, if you do like this video, if you did enjoy this, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I really want to actually hear from you if you've played the Dreamcast, or if you haven't, what's your opinion on the Dreamcast? And especially for those that have experienced a Dreamcast, want to hear your story of your background, of how you were introduced to the Dreamcast. I would like to obviously read those comments. Anyways, once again, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Take care and bye bye.